What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Shot Clock Scribbles. I am your host, Tendai Mkandurire, right here in the heartbeat of everything in Sacramento, California. Today's episode number 21, we're going to be talking everything to do with the NBA free agency since June 30th. I want you guys to know before I get started, I'll be talking about the most notable signings so far. I'll be talking about the most top 10 intriguing signings so far. Of course, there's a lot more than what I'm going to talk about. And then we'll talk about which players are still on the board yet to go to a NBA team, just waiting for that call, ink that deal with whatever team is looming. Lastly, we'll also talk about the Sacramento Kings, which players are on contract and which two players I think should get the two remaining spots right here in the farm to fork capital. All right, let's go ahead and get things started. First up here is Jason Tatum. He just signed the richest NBA contract ever in history. That is a supermax 5-year, $315 million extension. That comes out to $62 million per year, including a player option and a kicker. This deal also comes on the heels of the Celtics ownership group, and where their luxury tax bill will exceed $400 million when contract takes effect. I want you guys to know that he is the second player to be in the $3 million club after his teammate Jaylen Brown was the most expensive NBA player in NBA history. So the C's got that payroll looking pretty hefty right about now. They just re-signed Derek White to, I believe, a $125 million extension. Good money coming for those guys in Boston here. He has the chance to really make history because he could win a gold medal at the Olympics in Paris this summer as well. Did not get the Finals MVP or the Eastern Conference MVP, but he has a chance to be solidified as one of the best years that a player has ever had in NBA history. Next player up on the board here is Paul George. Paul just signed a 4-year, $212 million deal with the 76ers. He met with several teams, including the Clippers. Essentially, at the end of the day, we've talked about this all year on the pod, is he wanted more years on the contract, and he opted out of the $48 million extension with the Clips. So I feel like this is a good signing for the 76ers. Obviously, they've been having their starting point guard getting the most improved player of the year. JoJo got hurt towards the middle of the season there. Unfortunate for him. But with this healthy break of some time, I hope he gets back to his former self because let's be honest, he was playing MVP caliber level. And so having a two-way player like Paul George, everybody knows that you want a two-way two-guard on your team. And Paul George can do just that. He can defend, he can score in bunches. He's an amazing player, and he's going to be a great addition for those 76ers in Philadelphia here. Next player on the board is KCP. KCP just signed a 3-year, $66 million deal and is headed to Old Town there in Orlando. So the Denver Nuggets didn't want to pay up. Something about these Nuggets, man. They don't want to pay their players, having to Bruce Brown before as well. And it seems like it's a continuous theme with this team. And yeah, this is not a good look. You're getting KCP to go to Orlando. Of course, Orlando, they had a lot of cap space, so they can definitely pay him up. So KCP chose the money over potentially winning a championship again with the Denver Nuggets. Respect his decision 1,000%. And guys, get this. He's one of two players to win a championship in this 2020 era right now. The other one, of course, being Jrue Holiday with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics most recently here. Next up, Headband Klay Thompson is headed to the Big D in Dallas. He signs a 3-year, $50 million deal, comes up to $16 million per. This is a sign and trade. Dallas sends 2 second-round picks and sends Josh Green to the Hornets. So a 3-way deal. Let's be honest right here. He had more money with the Lakers. His dad did say he wasn't too happy about Klay not going to LA, but Klay's got to make decisions. And it sounds like he felt a better fit with the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, it helps when your team just went to the finals as well. This past season, Clay averaged 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists per game on 43% shooting from the field and 38% from the three ball. So Clay can still score in bunches, spot up shooter. He can create his own shot as needed. That team is going to be scoring a lot of points, especially with having Kyrie and Luka as a primary ball handlers. They'll find him in those open pockets or those open threes. So happy for Clay. Of course, this ends a sour run as this past season, Clay felt disrespected for the Warriors offer. But business decision at the end of the day, the dynasty ends right up north on Highway 80 in San Francisco as Clay now heads to the big. Next player is Isaiah Hartenstein. He made waves during the playoffs. He gets you those rebounds, easy buckets at the rim, easy dunks. He signs a 3-year, $87 million deal with the OKC Thunder. Gives them more depth. He's not going to start. You still have Chet Holmgren going to be holding it down in the 5 spot there, but gives him a little bit more flexibility. The Knicks couldn't offer him the most money. I think they offered him $8 million or something like that. So they really couldn't offer up all that money. Of course, with the new deal with OG Anunoby and then picking up Bridges from Brooklyn, really adds to the payroll. Can't really do too much. Can't offer him the most money. So Isaiah, very happy to go to Oklahoma and get a nice payday. He's actually getting paid more per year now than his running mate, Jalen Brunson. So what the Thunder get is for a lot of things. Rim protection, you really need that in the West. Rebounding, passing, pick and roll efficiency, versatility, scoring efficiency. He gives you a lot of energy. You guys saw him picked up a lot of offensive rebounds, extra possessions for those Knicks. Flexibility as well with Chet Holmgren. Maybe you can play Chet at the 4, Isaiah at the 5, depending on the lineup and who you're playing. So happy for Isaiah. Get your money, Isaiah. Get your money, boy. Next player is LeBron James. LeBron just got signed to a new deal. Signed a 2-year, $104 million extension. That comes up to $52 million per with the Lakers. Of course, his son just signed a rookie deal with the Lakers as well. He's going to be up there in San Francisco with the Summer League with his head coach, J.J. Redick. Excited to see how that all happens and how that all unfolds with this team. He was willing to take a $25 million discount. Man, imagine leaving all that money on the table. Clay didn't come. DeMar DeRozan is still up on the board, but with him signing this deal, it is an indication that maybe they might not get that big star that they wanted. They're going to also essentially keep D'Angelo Russell, so that's a lot of money on the payroll. There was a lot of talks about him maybe possibly going to Orlando as the cap space was pretty open for those guys. And get this, guys, 530, that is the magic number. Of course, that's the area code from where I grew up, just down on the highway on the 80 here in Davis, California. That is the area code, but he is the first player in NBA history to hit this milestone of being in the $500 million club. So congrats to LeBron. Going to get his money. Of course, he makes a lot of money outside of the court in his endorsements and his endeavors and what he does. So congrats to LeBron. Next player I wanted to talk about here is Kyle Anderson. Kyle just signed a 3-year, $27 million deal with the Golden State Warriors. I talked to Chris Hine on the pod a few episodes ago, and he talked about Kyle. He really loved Minnesota. He has a son that has autism, and he really loved the community there in Minnesota and really wanted to stay. But with the Timberwolves luxury tax bill and how that all unfolds, he was always going to be the odd man out of that group. He played out of position really for most of last year with Karl Anthony Towns missing about 50 games last year. But what does Kyle bring? Kyle brings a lot of things. So he has the ability to guard multiple positions. He's a very smart player, has a high basketball IQ, and he can contribute across the stat sheet, rebound, assist. He can really get all that for your team. And this is a smart deal for the Warriors. You definitely need more depth with having waived Chris Paul, and you're going to be starting PB there in the rookie next season. I think this is a good deal for the Warriors. They probably wanted to go after other players, but hey, the market is the market, and you got to pick up the players as quick as you can because other teams are going to call and sign those players. So good deal for Dunleavy in signing Kyle Anderson. staying in the West. Next player I wanted to talk about is Jonas Valanciunas. I'm a big fan of JV's game. He just signed a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Washington Wizards. He was always going to get a payday this offseason. And if you guys remember, I wanted him to come right here in Sacramento because he would be a great backup for Domas Sabonis at the 5 spot. But that doesn't happen. He goes to the Wizards and he adds rebounding prowess, inside scoring, and veteran leadership in that locker room, and a physical presence to the Wizards roster. The Wizards would be looking for a better record and a better season in general than last year, because let's just be honest, they were absolutely trash. Basura. Last year, they had a 15-67 record. That gives them an 18% winning record. The good thing about them is it sounds like they're trending in the right direction. They drafted really well. Alexander Sarr, Keyshawn Johnson, re-signed Richaun Holmes, the former Sacramento Kings man, on a 2-year deal. We love you here, Sacramento. And it really remains to be unseen what happens to Tyus Jones and Kyle Kuzma. There's been a lot of buzz about those guys. Let's see what they do regarding those two players. The next player I wanted to talk about here is Spider Donovan Mitchell. This just came out yesterday. He signed a 3-year, $50 million extension. Man, that sounds amazing. Let me hold $1 or two, Spider. And he stays in the land. This includes a $15 million option for the 2027-28 season. And the Cavs fans honestly are going to be very happy with this, because it's very hard in the Midwest to get stars. And when you get a star like Donovan Mitchell coming to the land, you'd be very happy and you want him to stay, especially after not being in the playoffs after LeBron had left. This is a welcoming sign for those fans. Donovan got hurt last season in the playoffs, and I really wished we could have seen what could unfold with that series with the Boston Celtics. I think the Celtics still win that one, but I don't think they win it as comfortably. They won that series 4-1. The Cavs ended up taking one on the Celtics' home court, but I really wish we would have seen Spider in his full potential in that series. And it remains to be seen what happens to Isaac Okoro. I believe he's a really good player. Maybe the Sacramento Kings should go after him, but he's still up on the board right now. Happy for Spider. And there were a lot of talks before about him maybe going to New York. Not really a good fit, in my honest opinion. Obviously, they picked up other players that they recently did in this offseason, so that's not going to make financial sense. So Spider is my last one here on this list. There's still a couple of players still left on the board, and let's talk about those particular players. There's a lot more players than this, just to be transparent, but I wanted to give you guys this list of players that are still up on the board right now. DeMar DeRozan is still on the board, still has not been picked up. He averaged 24 points per game on 48% shooting from the field. He's 34 years old. It's going to be his last payday. He could go to the Los Angeles Lakers. It doesn't make a lot of sense, to be honest, with that roster, but I hope he finds a happier home, or maybe they restructure his deal and he stays in Chicago. Let's see how that unfolds. Miles Bridges is also another player. He had a tremendous end of the season. The Hornets are also another team that are trending in the right direction. It remains to be unseen what really happens with them. LaMelo Ball was hurt for most of the year. This upcoming season, he's going to be at 100%, hopefully. And with the sophomore in Brendan Miller, had a really good season. I think a lot of people didn't really talk about it too much, but he had a really good season last season. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does this season, and let's see where he ends up. Another player is Gary Trent Jr., up in the 6. He led the league last season in wide open 3-point percentage at 50, and he shot the 3-ball at 39% last year. He really could be a great asset for a team that needs a primary ball handler and needs shooting. He's also been in the league for a couple of years, so that will help as well with maybe some of the young guys anybody's roster, really. The next player here is Buddy Hield. That former Sacramento man gets booed every time he comes back to Sacramento. He's made it be known that he is not a fan of the Sacramento fans as well. It's reported that maybe he has a burner account and he's always talking trash on there about Sacramento. It is what it is, but last season, Buddy averaged 12 points per game and he was 38% from 3. It's been rumored that he might go to Golden State with the Warriors with losing Clay. That would be a good addition for a spot-up three-point shooter. Fits right in, no problem. Another player is Malik Beasley. He's still up on the board. He had a really good season last year. Of course, the Milwaukee Bucks didn't get to where they wanted to go, but he had a pretty good season. I saw him play several times last season. He averaged 11 points per game last season, 41% from three, and get this, he led the league in corner three-point volume and was 10th in corner three-point percentage. He also landed 6th on most heavily contested three-point shooters, and he shot that three ball there at 35% when he was contesting with their hand in the space. The other player we just talked about, Isaac Okoro, is another player still on the board. Great asset on the defensive end. Energetic guy, young guy still, man. Athletic presence on the floor. He is not the best of three-point shooters, but I think he can bring some value to just about any NBA team that is looking for defensive prowess and knock down some shots. That's your guy there, Isaac. Next player, Caleb Martin, really made a name for himself in the playoffs, not this past season, but the year before that. Earned him a nice little contract, 43% from the field, 34% from the three. He gives you defense, shooting, and energy right off the bench. So any team that's really looking for that, that's your guy right there. Caleb Martin is looking to get paid this offseason. Let's see if anybody picks him up out there in the atmosphere. Next player is THT, Taylor Horton Tucker for the Utah Jazz. He averaged 10 points per game, 39% from the field. Not a great three-point shooter, only 29%. And I believe he lost his value, honestly, after the Lakers. He was really trending in the right direction, and a lot of teams were interested in him. I'm really surprised if he decided to go with the Utah Jazz, but he did what he did. Let's see where THT ends up. All right, guys. So there's other notable players that I didn't talk about in that list. There's a lot more, of course. I can go days on days about free agency signings, but the ones I wanted to make known is DeJounte Murray to the New Orleans Pelicans with him and Trae Young, two primary ball handlers. We talked about it all season. That wasn't really going to work. I saw him play right here in Sacramento in mid-January, and he had a nice game. He had a 30-10 game, and that was when Trae was hurt during that time. He goes to the Pels for Larry Nance Jr., Dyson Daniels, who I actually really like, and a 2025 and 2027 first-round pick. All right, so get this stat, guys. There's only 3 players that have averaged this stat line in the last 3 seasons. That's 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. DeJounte is in that list of players. The other 2 players, Nikola Jokic in Denver and Luka in Dallas. The other player that I thought that should have maybe came to the Sacramento Kings was Najee Marshall, man. Najee Marshall is a great defensive player. He's a dog. I've talked about it on my Instagram. He deserves to get a payday, and I'm really happy for him. He inked a 3-year, $27 million deal with the Dallas Mavericks to be a good rotational player for those guys in Dallas. Speaking about Dallas, another player, Derrick Jones Jr., is headed to LA with the Los Angeles Clippers. He was always going to get a payday with a team that wanted him. He really displayed what he could do. He got hurt in the finals there, but he inked a 3-year, $30 million deal, $10 million per season. Really happy for him. Staying in the West, Chris Paul, CP3, inked a 1-year, $11 million deal. He got waived by the Golden State Warriors. I did see it coming. $30 million. He's not able to stay on the floor 82 games. I know a lot of players are getting paid a lot of money these days, but yeah, $30 million to keep Chris Paul on your roster, I would have said no to. And that's all love and respect to CP3. I think he's an amazing player, one of my favorite players, but yeah, that didn't make financial sense for those guys in San Francisco. The last 2 players I want to talk about in staying with the West is Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe re-signed with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Real smart move to ink these guys to new deals. Wiggins inked a 5-year, $47 million deal, while Isaiah Joe, one of the best spot-up shooters in the league at the 3-ball, inked a 4-year, $48 million deal with the Thunder. So good business there from Sam Presti, who also has a gazillion picks at his disposal still. with that Paul George deal with the Clippers. All right, staying right here in the 916. Got to feature Malik Monk since he re-signed with the Sacramento Kings. And hey, guys, who's going to paint that mural of Malik Monk right here in the city? Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it, man? As far as these Sacramento Kings, this is their roster so far as far as who is on contract. At the one spot, De'Aaron Fox, Keon Ellis, Kobe Jones, shooting guard, Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, Devin Carter, the rookie, Harrison Barnes, Chris Duarte, and Jalen McDaniels coming in from the sixth dot. At the fourth spot, Keegan Murray and Trey Lyles. And at the 5 center position, Sabonis and Alex Len. Two-way contracts, Mason Jones, Isaac Jones, and Isaiah Crawford on that list. And guys, there's 2 open spots right now on the Sacramento Kings. And those 2 players, I think, should be Dario Saric and Miles Bridges. I know Miles Bridges is a controversial one with a lot of folks, but hey, man, we just talked about him being on the board still and what he can give you. Of course, he had the issues off the court, and I get that. And I know a lot of Kings fans are not going to be wanting to watch the Sacramento Kings. As far as just talking about on the court, I think he would be a good asset for the Kings, honestly. And these couple players, the Kings did not pick up their options this upcoming season. There's Jordan Ford, Jalen Slaw, Kessler Edwards, and I'm not so sure what's going on with JaVale McGee. He's not on contract. I don't know if the Kings are going to try to see what is out there in open market, and maybe if they don't get anything, maybe they'll bring him back, but he's not on contract last time I checked. All right, guys, so just rounding that up, that is the list that I have. The days go by here. There's going to be more players picked up by the day. Of course, June 30th on Sunday, we had all the players going down, and they continue to go down as the days go by. Let's see what happens in the remaining days this off season. Thanks for listening, guys.